Fired up. Want to call the regular meeting of the Village of Corrales governing body to order, April 11th, 2023. Please turn off your phones or put them on vibrate so that you don't disturb any discussion during the meeting. Once you've done that, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Counselor Murray.
Here.
Counselor Alsobrook.
Here.
Counselor Knight.
Here.
Counselor Waldman.
Aye.
Counselor Miera.
Here.
Okay, Counselor Burkett is ill and cannot attend. Is he going to be on Zoom?
I am zoomed in, present.
Oh, he's here. Okay, good. Glad to have you. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? I have one addition for the agenda. We are fortunate enough to have Kathleen Cates here, our representative, and she's going to give us a short legislative update after we introduce all our new firefighters. That's the only addition, and it doesn't require any discussion or debate, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Is everybody okay with that slight addition? I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Move.
And a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. So we will move on to Chief Martinez and his group of firefighters.
Mayor, Council, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Ron, Mr. Curry. So this is a very exciting night. I know you guys have heard me talk about budget, talk about our increase of calls, our numbers. You've heard me many times ask for increasing our staff to accommodate our citizens' needs. And so I am here before you to introduce three new firefighters to our addition that you'll see driving out training. Please welcome them. I say they're new. We posted internally amongst volunteer firefighters, amongst village staff. Two of my members have been with me for a while within my ranks of volunteering, and I'll go over each individual and some of their history. And one is a familiar face, just switched departments. So again, this is a very proud moment, and we're going to do, I'm going to introduce each firefighter individually, and they have a parent or grandparent with them this evening to pin their badge on. So I'll go ahead and there's no particular order, but I'll go ahead and invite Abigail Silva Volner up here and Mr. Silva, Grandpa Silva. Okay. Abby started out with Corrales Fire Department as a YCC member in May of 2018. She has actively been serving Corrales within our department. She's a resident. She's been through a lot last couple of years, as you know, and you've heard me talking about, with all the pandemic and all the, the increase of calls, and she's stuck it through all of that with us. And she has just completed her Fire 1, Fire 2. She's awaiting to test for EMT basic. And last week and this week, she's been on the river learning how to be a swiftwater rescue technician. So at this time, I'm going to give Mr. Silva her badge. Wow.
Don't sticker.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, next, if I could have Julian Trujillo come up with Mother Mrs. Trujillo. So when I mentioned a familiar face, you recognize Julian, who was part of another department, and he's, talking to Julian, wanted to be a firefighter, and so we're very thankful to have him on our team, but he's still part of the village team, right? Even though he's assigned to the fire department now, we, as you know, we all fulfill wherever we have to, we'll be there. So, and Julian is going to be going, he's got his homework assignment for, I think, the next year. Okay. And last but not least, Brian Fox, if I can have Brian Fox, accompanied by his father, Brian Fox. Brian Fox has started with Corrales Fire Department back in May of 2018, also under the Youth Conservation Corps, the YCC program. Brian has been actively serving Corrales with the fire department. He completed his Fire 1, Fire 2. He is awaiting to test for his EMT basic. And he has also been in the river the last couple of weeks, learning to be a swiftwater rescue technician. Tonight, his father, Brian Fox, who we started our career in the 90s together. So this is definitely, an honor. So Mayor, Council, thank you again for all the support. I can't express enough how much I appreciate the support I've had for, serving the community of Corrales, and we're super proud. It's a great team. But thank you again.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck.
Congratulations to you guys. We're really very fortunate. We're very glad to have you on board. Thank you, Anthony. So at this time, once things have sort of settled down, Representative Kathleen Cates is going to tell us what all has happened up in Santa Fe.
Thank
We
you.
don't have enough time for that. do
Yeah,
we?
thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just bumped into the mayor at the Easter egg hunt. And so, and I know you don't have the time for the full update, but I wanted to talk about a little about the capital outlay and junior money investments for the Corrales and Corrales area. Because they were significant. I did want to just come here tonight to be updated and to be able to see that wonderful ceremony. There should have been tissues out. Thank you. I'm Representative Kathleen Cates, and we were lucky enough this session to be able to have junior money as well as capital outlay, unprecedented large amounts of capital outlay and junior money, larger than ever before. I'm a representative, and so I had, for as much funding as I had, it was even less than the senator. And so Senator McKenna, I'm sure, will have an update for you as well. But I will tell you that, and I'll tell you some of the specifics to funding, but just in capital outlay that went to the village of Corrales or maybe the city of Albuquerque, but it would benefit items inside of Corrales, was just shy of $1 million I was able to allocate this year, just from my own budget, as well as for the junior money, I was able to fund $100,000 towards the plan and designs of the new performing arts, the FACE, is that correct in your newsletter? ACE. Also in junior money, you have a nonprofit in town that provides services for veterans, individuals with disabilities, called Loving Thunder. We're able to, they have a leaky roof. We're able to provide some funding for that. Here in the village, we were able to, obviously, the senator and I were able to help put funding towards putting the electric pumps in for the siphon, so that we can get that diesel fuel and the loudness out of there. I was able to put in 150,000 for the Corrales fire training facility, 50,000 for the broadband improvement for the fire line construction, another 50,000. The vehicle charging station equipment, 100,000. Then the city of Albuquerque will have funding as well for a security system for the Corrales Elementary School. Also, the city of Albuquerque has funding, but towards the San Ysidro Church for the museum as well. And much more. We have a pumper fire truck. We were able to put 100,000, 195,000 for the Corrales Police Department vehicles and equipment purchases. And then, as I said, the senator has even a larger budget, and she was able to. So I'm very so happy that is no matter how much funding, it's never enough, because our dreams exceed our pocketbooks, but that is wonderful. Thank goodness for this body's vision, so that we can keep moving. We really focused on fire and water treatment, with obviously keeping with our arts, because we are an arts center here in the village. And thank you. If you have any questions, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Well, I really appreciate what both of y'all did up there. I think it was a very successful session for us. I mean, if we judge it just by the kind of funds that you provided for us. It sounds like not everybody was happy with the final, I guess, legislation that came out, but a lot of good progress was made.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. You know, it's, if everybody is not satisfied, then you know we've done our work, right? And so, I will say that we sent 250 bills to the governor's desk. There are many full-time legislators out there in other states who do not send 250 bills to their governor in a year, and we did it in 60 days. I do know that, you know, there's some disappointments, but I was able to get things in the tax bill or the appropriations or to the governor's desk. And the bills that I sent to the governor's desk were all signed.
Did you get much traction on extending the time the legislature's in session or on full-time legislation? I mean, full-time legislators, you know, pay for being full-time legislators.
So there were several different groups and bills regarding that, and they were created in the interim before I was elected. So I wasn't a part of that group, but they did not, they surprised me and not achieving the traction that I thought they should achieve. I do believe that we all believe in paying for paid staff. I was a freshman this year, so we had one full-time paid staff that I split with another legislator for 60 days. And now I have no paid staff. So I answer all my emails. People do call me and go, no, I want to speak to the representative. I'm like, I'm the representative. I'm answering my own phone. And so I answer my own emails, usually, you know, in between meetings in the parking lot. And so it would be most certainly help with constituent services if we had at least full-time staff up there. But I do believe in professionalizing the legislature as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have a question?
Not a question, not a question, but just a statement and another statement. But first of all, I didn't want to say it before she said it, but she was a freshman, but you couldn't tell. I was up there for a little while and she served us really well. You would have thought she was a junior, not working on seniorship, but she did a great job. Thank you so very much. Appreciate that. And Mr. Mayor, and members in the audience, if you notice that we have a nice individual who I say nice because she's young, and because of that, she's my student intern for the year. And this is Annabelle Menti. She's going to be with us. And so I want to thank you for allowing her to join us this afternoon. And members in the audience, it's nothing but good situations when we see young people becoming firefighters 1 and 2, and it's nice to see what we've saw in the legislature. I think they put an awful lot of money into education, and now we get to have student interns show that they're going to be with us here. So with that, I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing her to sit up here, and thanks to council members for allowing this to happen. But mostly it's for the individuals sitting in the audience. We have a student intern, and thank you so much, very much, for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So next, we're going to have a presentation from the ACE Committee, formerly known as the Performing Arts Committee. Tell you a little bit about this. Planning for this committee actually began the summer of about 2021 after a survey was performed by the Parks and Rec Commission, who were asked to take the lead on the Jones property where this facility will go. Many people were interested in a performing arts center as a result of that survey. And therefore, a plan was developed that pretty much was patterned after what everybody had suggested. This committee was subsequently put together about a year later using volunteers who had filled out the appropriate paperwork expressing their interest in doing this. And now, after almost a year, we have what I think is a good conceptual plan for this multi-use facility, as well as some plans for how we move forward down the road. The administration is going to put some of this on hold for a while until we complete the comprehensive plan and get an idea of how the village feels about this type of a facility, a little more information about how the village citizens feel about this facility. There are no plans for any bond elections at this time, and certainly none that would increase taxes. Having said those things, I will call on Mr. John Schuman, who has taken charge of this group and done an exemplary job in herding cats and putting this all together in a very organized fashion.
Thank you, Mayor Fahey. It's nice to see all of you again. 3 times in 1 year, is that a record? For the record, I'm John Schuman, and for the last 11 months, it's been my honor and privilege to lead a group of very dedicated volunteers who have invested incredible time in forwarding our project called the ACE Center. We'll be discussing it in some detail. But tonight is the conclusion of what we hope is the first part of a journey of concepts. But I, together with 3 of my associates, will be presenting tonight. But I'd like for the other committee members who are here with us to stand and introduce themselves so you get an idea of the breadth and depth of the committee that we have. Angela, you can start.
They'll need to come up to the microphone so
Yeah.
people at home can hear as well.
Good evening. I'm Angela Gutierrez, the Executive Director for Main Street, and then also part of this committee. So, thank you.
I'm Tony Messick. I'm a Parks and Rec Commissioner and a Kiwanian.
John Young, Chef Ambassador for the Agriculture Department of the State of New Mexico, and I represent the Growers Market.
Hi, I'm Jim Wright, and I represent, what do I remember? Kiwanis Club, Corrales Arts Center, and I'm on the library board.
Sandy.
Who's back? Sandy Rasmussen. I am obviously the executive director past, but in my new retirement job, I took on the Arts and Cultural District, and this falls under that. And I'm on the CAC board also, so.
Thank you. This has not been a one-man show by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not like pushing or herding cats. It is like pushing worms, however. It's not been an easy road. We have fought. We have argued. There have been those very quiet, uneasy moments following arguments, but we've always respected each other. And I think that's one of the reasons for the success that we've had. One of the members that's not with us this evening, but is watching us on Zoom, is Ken Duckert. And Ken is suffering from strep throat. And he's at home nursing strep throat with a glass of single malt whiskey. So our presentation this evening can be summed up in 3 different parts. The first is a mini review of the history, sort of like the mayor just went through, but with a little bit more detail. A review of our accomplishments, what we've done over the course of the past 11 months, and a bit of a look toward the future with a recommendation for the creation of a private-public partnership. Our committee was formed as an ad hoc committee on May 22nd in 2022, so we've not been together formally for even a year yet. And you gave us a year to meet certain directives, and we feel that we've more than met those directives. Now, our committee consists of 10 people. 7 were appointed as committee members and 3 as advisors. Well, what's the difference between the 2? A committee member can vote on different issues that come before the committee. Advisors are there just to advise. Our committee worked very hard with Mark Steinkamp from Facility Build, an architect there. We put him through the torture of going through 7 iterations of the concept design. So what you'll see from Barb tonight is a little bit different from what you saw from us last September. Various officials have even volunteered to help us. The mayor has been a frequent guest of ours at our meetings. Ron has been a frequent guest at our meetings. Councilman Waldman has been with us. Village council has even been with us. Village attorney has been with us. So we've had the perspective of a lot of people, not just Coralinos, normal Coralinos, but administration and staff. Since our beginning last May, believe it or not, we've invested more than 1,800 hours of our time. We don't meet monthly. We meet weekly. We meet weekly across the way over in the community building, starting at 9:30, and if we're lucky, we're out of there by 11:30, but it's been very productive. The result of the committee work is a proposal for a flexible, multifunctional regional center benefiting virtually all Coralinos and our neighbors. That's an important concept here, and our neighbors. While serving as an anchor for the village arts and cultural district. The center should be operated on the basis of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Jim?
Evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Jim Kruger. I'm one of the advisors to the ad hoc committee that's been working for almost a year, as John just reported. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background on what our directives were, and then also report on what we feel we have accomplished in the work that we've done. So there were 4 directives, if you will, and the resolution was adopted in May of 22. One was to identify and help implement a plan to create a performing arts center that could be used for a variety of events and classes in the village of Corrales. 2, gather further citizen input regarding the needs of the village that could be met by such a center. Thirdly, provide on how the project could be funded. And then lastly was to make a presentation of the committee's findings, which we're doing this evening. So those were our 4 directives, if you will, and the work that we started out. And we, the committee, believe we have accomplished that work, and believe that with the report that you received tonight, that you would agree with us that those directives have been met. The committee has gathered further citizen input, which led to expanding the proposed uses of the center to be an arts, community, and education center, ACE, ACE. And based on that work and input from the citizens, we were able to report that there is community support for the center. The committee coordinated development of a concept drawing for the center that is flexible, multi-generational, and multifunctional. And Barbara is going to give you some more information on the design and the drawings that we have completed. Thirdly, the committee has identified sources for funding to complete the planning and construction of the ACE Center. And Linda Parker will provide additional information on the details of that. The committee has not designated any part of the center for the exclusive use of any program or organization. And then lastly, the primary recommendation from the committee is that move forward by creating a public-private partnership between the village and a 501c3 organization in order to complete the extensive work necessary to bring the concept of the ACE Center to life, as well as gathering additional community and input about the center and its design. Thank you.
Good evening, councilors and Mr. Mayor. I'm Barbara Boyd, a member of the committee, and I'll be sharing the outcomes for the first 2 directives. And I'm actually going to move over. Can I?
Yeah, you should.
Okay, I'm actually going to move over to the picture on the wall. So the first directive was to identify and help implement a plan to create a performing arts center. So note that it says Performing Arts Center. We quickly got initial community input and said that wasn't enough. It can't just be a performing arts center, it has to be much more than that. What you're seeing here is a conceptual drawing. This is not a final drawing. An architect, a builder could not build from this. It's not an architectural drawing. It's a conceptual drawing. And actually it's concept number 7. So it can be changed again. This is just ink on paper. So the overall building size of heated capacity is 15,888 square feet with a height of 25 feet, 8 inches. You'll see over here that there are 8 handicap spots, which is 4 more than the required because we're trying to have inclusiveness. As you go through the entry court, so this would be the main entryway, the entry court here, entry lobby here, and you come into the main auditorium. We also have in the main auditorium handicap seats with companion seats. So we envision lots of things happening in this multi-use auditorium. We envision village movie night, candidate forums, children's performances, and classes being held in the auditorium. The space has 236 seats with 7, and I said 7 handicapped and companion seats. The intent of this auditorium is to be flexible usage. So now let's move to the gallery. Here's the big gallery here. That gallery has a space for many potential uses as well, rotating art and historic exhibits, maybe even dances and receptions, and other revenue generating opportunities. That space is just over 2,000 square feet. Then moving on to the classroom and meeting room up here, you'll see those zigzag lines. Those are air walls between the rooms. So you could section them off and have smaller rooms, but you could for simultaneous classes and meetings while enabling larger gatherings. That total space is almost 1,700 square feet. Next to that is a food preparation area so that we can have food for receptions or various events. Then from there are the public restrooms. And then this is preparation space and rehearsal space for presentations such as music and chorales or performing arts. Moving all the way to the east, this east courtyard is not under roof. It is not heated. And it has permeable surface that could be used. That faces the mountains. So we're thinking that this would be where the post office is here. So it faces the mountains and we could have a wonderful venue for receptions and small gatherings. That's about 2,000 square feet. At the top of the page, you'll see evidence of us trying to use all of the space. I'll let you use the pointer, Melanie. That's a good idea. So that space, we're trying to use space for storage underneath the seats in the auditorium. The exterior and interior architecture will reflect the artistic Southwest style and charm of Corrales. The estimated costs are $8 million with inflation added, assuming construction begins in 3 to 5 years. So that's a little preview of what the conceptual drawing looks like. The second directive, going to that, was to seek community input. As John noted, Ken Duckert is not able to be with us tonight, but he performed a lot of the outreach. So I'm giving Ken's presentation. And as Jim said, one of the committee's charges was to seek community input. Having a committee with extensive experience working with community groups and businesses, we understand and appreciate collaboration and collective wisdom. We agree that we make better decisions when we work together. Therefore, we sought and welcomed input from a wide range of village stakeholders. The committee began gathering input by sharing its considerable knowledge of the Corrales arts, cultural, theatrical, architectural, agricultural, and business community. We enjoyed the presence of the mayor, village administrator, and counselors at many of our Monday morning meetings. We also reached out to parents, teachers, school administrators, members of the 4-H, the Parks and Recreation Commission, the agricultural community, and organizations including, okay, here's the long list, Music in Corrales, Corrales Arts Center, Corrales Society of Artists, Corrales Main Street, Corrales Historical Society, Kiwanis, Corrales Library, and a broad group of Corrales residents. Input from these sources was wide-ranging and diverse, underscoring the need for a facility that would be flexible and supportive of a wide range of uses. In our research of likely users of ACE, we listed over 30 groups, organizations, businesses, and individuals that conduct art, cultural, and educational activities. We heard strong expressions of a need for a flexible, multifunctional facility like ACE, like the center I just showed you. Ken also did a really awesome job of surveying 12 different established arts and cultural centers in New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas to determine their organizational, operating, and ownership structures. The directors at these centers were most helpful. He learned that all but one are owned by a municipality and are managed, funded, and operated by a 501c3 organization. The importance of having nonprofit manage their center was cited as especially critical in fundraising. All said their centers enjoy widespread community support. Their centers were recognized as a hub for community activity. An interesting finding was that most valued clients were children and young adults. Ken was an elementary and a middle school teacher and administrator, and he understood because he saw firsthand the dramatic and profound influence on youth when they had access to and participated in the arts. Our planning was substantially influenced by the importance given to education at these centers. Another important learning was that all of the directors recalled that after their center opened, new groups of youth, families, and seniors were organized to take advantage of their center's resources. Directors were also very helpful in sharing their operational organization, budgets, funding sources, and importantly, their fundraising strategies. In short, we received an abundance of information that helped us to create a recommended plan we thought most suitable and responsive to our community. We understand the evolutionary and fluid nature of planning at this point and recognize that continued input will be needed to complete this project successfully. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. It's lovely to see you all again. I'm addressing the mayor, counselors, and administrative staff, and outside professionals. I'm Linda Parker, and I obviously am a member of the committee. One of the mandates for this committee was to determine how to fund this project. Like any other capital campaign, a development plan was needed to guide the process. Hundreds of individuals, corporations, both public and private foundations, were researched. Through a professional fundraising relationship, more research was developed. As an example, in our village of approximately 8,700 individuals, 463 are active donors to a very large, successful community foundation in Albuquerque. As a key component of the development plan, it is critical that we develop a timeline that will tell us when something is supposed to happen and what we need to have happened. I believe the most important point that I want you to understand from my presentation this evening is identifying additional donors, asking said donors, and receiving a donation commitment takes time. A rule of thumb is it is necessary to identify 3 to 5 potential donors to receive 1 donation. So if you look at the 1,800 donors that we're thinking would be needed, you can do the math. Excuse me. And it takes up to 7 separate interactions with a potential donor before the donor will commit to a donation. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions, or is that not? That's late, right? Okay, sorry.
The committee believes that we have met the dictates or the directives that you've asked us to meet. We've completed the due diligence And we feel that we have demonstrated that there is a need for and a desire for multi-use facility like the proposed ACE Center within the village of Corrales. Just so that you know the skill level of the various committee members, we have a communications expert, we have a lawyer, we have a person who's developed serious commercial real estate. We have a fundraiser. We have a finance person. We have all the skills on our committee that would transfer over to a proposed organization that's actually already been formed. So we have the skill set and the experience to go forward. But our recommendations are to enter into public-private partnership with a 501c3 organization. Why need a 501c3 organization? Quite candidly, it's illegal for the village to raise money from private sources. You can work with wonderful representatives like Kathleen in raising state funds and some in federal funds, but it can't raise money from corporations, foundations, or individuals. That's where the 501c3 organization comes in, because it can access those sources of finance. Second is that while the village has certainly invested substantial money, around $250,000 to knock down the Jones House and begin the abatement of some environmental issues there going forward, the village has no money. Kathleen has come up with about $100,000 for us for design and design work, but we don't have serious money, and we need to start raising serious money here pretty quickly. I know 3 to 5 years sounds like it's a long way away, but when you get to the nuts and bolts of raising the funds, as Linda has described, it's not that far away. And I can tell you that the year that's transpired since we began this effort, it's flown by. Maybe because we were having a good time, and we were. But we have created a not-for-profit organization called Friends of the ACE Center. It's a viable operating not-for-profit organization. We have our articles of incorporation, we have our bylaws, we have non-compete documentation, everything that you need, and we're working with a prestigious Albuquerque firm to actually walk us through the steps of getting our documentation of implementation. We're up and running, we're working. As a matter of fact, we've raised $10,000 seed money to help us in the initial stages of our work. And the seed money came from very interesting sources. All 10 members of our committee committed their financial wherewithal to this effort, as did 3 local not-for-profits. So that's the source of the $10,000. The committee recommends that the village enter an agreement establishing a public-private partnership with a 501c3 organization. And we don't want to be presumptive about this. We know that the village can organize another committee, maybe like ours. I can tell you, won't find people like we have on our committee, or you can have someone organize another 501c3 organization. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but we don't want to be presumptive of Friends of ACE. But we're prepared to complete the planning and funding of the ACE Center to include acting as a fiscal agent for the project. What does this mean? It means that if we enter into a memorandum of understanding appointing Friends of ACE as a fiscal agent, that gives us the credibility to represent the village and this project as we begin raising very serious money. This can be accomplished in any of a manner of ways. It was Randy Otten at one of our last meetings that suggested an MOU would be the way to proceed. And as we visit with Ron and with the mayor, there will be probably a series of MOUs going along the way. The first would be to act as fiscal agent, and the others would come for maybe the purposes of operating and maintaining the facility. Those are down the line, but the most immediate need is to raise money, i.e. the relationship with a 501c3 organization. The organization any MOU needs to be terminable by either party. If you don't like it, you can get out. Just one more tease about the Friends of ACE. Should we be able to proceed as the 501c3 organization in the private-public partnership, no one would bring the continuity of the project that we would. No one would have the experience that we do. No one has the commitment that we do, as evidenced by the 1,800 hours invested in the course of less than a year. And most importantly, no one has the passion for the project that we do. With that said, we, from the bottom of our hearts, want to thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in this project. It's been fun. It's been an enjoyable experience for the most part. And we feel good because we feel like we've accomplished something meaningful for the village. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You have accomplished something for the village. So any questions from the council? Yes, Bill.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure the committee members are aware of the letter that all of us received from the Historical Society regarding a number of different issues that they raised. They compliment you initially with a great concept and moving forward, but there are some specifics I thought maybe I could raise and you could expound upon. One of which is community input. There's a feeling that perhaps there wasn't enough community input in terms of the broad base that Corrales represents, whether that's the community part and the education part. The art part, I think everyone agrees is solid and is there. And I have a couple of questions for Barbara about that as well. But could you explain kind of how you proceeded in terms of public input, public outreach? You mentioned what Ken had done with reaching out to Colorado and Texas and some other places in New Mexico. But in terms of the residents of Corrales, other than the one at the old San Isidro Church, what were the other public forums you may have had to get input?
We didn't have any public forums, nor did we specifically invite anyone particular to come to our meetings. However, they came. The Historical Commission came. John McCandless and another person came pretty early on, sat down with us, never came back and didn't say a word while they were with us. So we figured out there was no interest. Then about 6 or 7 months later, Ken Martinez and Mary Davis came to our meeting. We openly welcomed them. They had no input. They had no suggestions. They wanted some space in the center, but didn't define what they wanted. And we then had a disastrous meeting with the Historical Committee on March 20th, 2023, a date that I'll never forget. But we visited with educators. Ken and I went and met with the principal of Corrales Elementary School. What you guys don't know are the educations of the people that are on our committee. Ken, certainly you know as an educator, but I bet you didn't know that Barbara Boyd is Dr. Barbara Boyd, PhD education. But we did our best to reach out, but there was just so far that we could go. We didn't have a commitment for anything. We couldn't say this is what we're going to do. We just asked for input from any of a number of organizations. I've spoken openly about it with the Music in Corrales and Music in Schools. We've spoken openly about it with CAC. We've done everything that we could to get input indirectly from other people, i.e. the response here. And we have tried real hard.
One of the things mentioned in the 5-page letter was the.
We haven't seen that letter.
You haven't seen the letter? No. The committee hasn't seen the letter.
No.
One of the things they mentioned, and you've discussed this in the past, and Barbara has represented that the Adobe Theater is interested in coming back to Corrales.
Right.
One of the things mentioned in the letter, and Barbara, perhaps you could comment on this, is a commitment that the Adobe Theater needs of 30 weeks per year of use of the center, either for rehearsals or for actual presentations. It seems to me like in my experience going to Adobe Theater, that seems like an awful lot. And perhaps you could kind of expound on that a little bit.
So we typically have a 30 or 31 weekend series. So it's typically 8 different shows given over 3 or 4 weekends, 3 or 4 weeks. And so that's the typical season that we have at the Adobe Theater.
Okay. And would you need the theater also for rehearsals?
We have rehearsal space in that layout. So the answer is no. I mean, as you get closer to putting the production up, yes, we would need to use the rehearsal space.
If
Can I address that one?
Yeah.
Just a
So,
second?
so let me just say, there have been no agreements,
Sure.
contracts, planning that any one agency or theater group would have majority control or majority involvement in this facility. This was a plan. Barbara's also a resident of Corrales.
Sure.
And the Adobe Theater was in Corrales for many years. In fact, they were at the old church for many years.
Right.
And so it was appropriate that they should think about the different things that would be involved in a facility like this. And so, no, there is no and I said to her the very first time I met her, and she said 30 weekends or whatever. I said, you know, that would have to be negotiable because we don't know what we're going to have, nor who's going to use it and how it's going to be used.
Right.
Right now, you can look at the old church and you can see that they have issues there renting out space. They have to set aside blocks sometimes in order to satisfy what people want. And so I don't think that's a fair criticism.
It was just, it was raised and I just wanted
Okay,
an
all right.
explanation.
All right.
That's, yeah, it was not at all a criticism.
Yeah, in all fairness to these guys.
Yeah.
They were given very general directives and they were given a plan that had been put together by the Parks and Rec Commission based on the survey that they had received. And, you know, I didn't like it, but I'm not a theater person. And I suggested that this was a good start. And also, I want to remind you guys that there was a time where a couple of individuals were trying to push a black box theater here in the village, trying to use the where planning and zoning is now and turn that into a black box theater, incorporate it into another smaller building behind that where we're thinking of putting the animal services building, where we're planning on putting it. And that didn't go anywhere, obviously, because now we have planning and zoning there. But these are all things that have been discussed. And, you know, I don't know if you recall, but when I was first elected to the council back in 2006, 2007, maybe it was even when John was on the council, Carmine DeVita stood right there and said, we need to have a performing arts center in this community. And that's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now, granted, his vision is probably different from their vision, probably even different from my vision. And that's why we think we need to keep working on this. We think we have a very good start and we think they've done a wonderful job, but we need to keep working on this, you know, to fine tune it, tweak it as we used the other day about something else. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. I agree. I think this is a terrific start and I've been to the meetings and they're open and it's terrific. One of the things that I've noticed just a little bit of traveling in surrounding states is there are, believe it or not, rest stops in Texas that have fantastic murals and historical representations of what that area is. Route 45 going from Houston to Dallas, there's a very large, talking about Sam Houston and, you know, and his, and I'm thinking this might be a very appropriate place to really explore the history of Corrales and how we got to where we are and what our history is. One of the things that the last page of this letter that we got has is representation of where, perhaps not a visitor center per se, but an area where the history of Corrales could be explored. The founding families of the village, those kinds of things. Perhaps even bringing in one of our best businesses in the village, Ideum, with tabletop displays and wall displays, those kinds of things. Is that something that might be possible? And is there room to put something like that in as a permanent display of what Corrales is all about?
We've talked about it and we've even talked about it with Ken and Mary Mary Davis, when they came to visit with us. As a matter of fact, the day that they came to visit with us, Ken was not snuggled up next to his glass of a single malt. But he was there with us and just from his photo files, he went through and showed how creative these kinds of displays outside can be.
Yeah.
And I don't want to steal any of Sue Evett's conversation, but we do have within the Arts and Cultural District a designated historic compound that includes the old church, Casa San Ysidro, and the cemetery. And what a wonderful place for us to display the history of Corrales in that cultural compound.
So let me say, there's no way we can predict what's going to end up in this facility. all opportunities, everything is available.
Everything's on the table.
Yes, anything, you talk about it, you look at it, and you see if you can do it. So it's, you can't make a decision tonight.
Sure.
Nor can you make a decision until you're much farther along. I said this many times whenever we would meet that, we don't have the money yet. We don't have the building yet. And we haven't torn down the Jones House. Now we have torn down the Jones House, so we're making slow progress. But anyway, so yes, all bets are on the table. There are a lot of things that we can do. There may be things we can't do, and we may be limited by funds. We don't know yet because we haven't gotten to that point. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. I was just curious about what, if there's any changes to any ordinances we have on the books right now before we enter into this MOU or this agreement.
We're not entering into any MOU.
I know we're not, but I mean, do we need to explore or introduce new legislation to when we get ready to do this?
Don't know. We'll look into it when we get ready to do it. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just on that one point, I have others, but I don't think that now's the appropriate time, and maybe as the meeting goes on, but on just on that last point, looking at what you brought to us last time with the fundraising discussions, to look into your question that you just proposed, the Corrales Village Attorney has advised the Center's Village appointed committee cannot, and that was capitalized, directly engage in soliciting funds. So as a result, a not-for-profit Friends for the Corrales Community and Education Center has been formed. So just the forming of that does not, by any means, the way I read it and what you just said, compel us to have to move with one or the other. And there may not be another, but there could be another 501c3 proposed.
501c3 is a private organization. They can call themselves whatever they want to call themselves. They can raise money for whatever purpose they want to raise money. They can get into contracts with the community, with the village, the village administration.
If we allow.
If we agree. It's a contract, it's a negotiation. It's a word I used with Barb. It's a negotiation that you probably have to work through. But nothing is, we can do a lot of things. I think we're at a very good point. We're at a starting point. We've generated, a lot of interest has been generated. And I think that's important. When we get more information from our comprehensive plan and see how the village feels about something like that. Because our impression is that there's a large number, we know there's a large number of people who are for it, but we don't know the commitment of the community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you're reading my notes because I was going to say, we're really going to be talking about this comprehensive plan, which should be our Bible that we're working from, or at least working towards the fulfillment of that in that particular arena. And we haven't even addressed those issues yet.
Yeah, I think that,
Thank you.
I hope that it will be a good guideline and a working document.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
I have one more point.
Oh,
Mr.
yes,
Mayor.
John, go ahead.
Relative to your point about the months or the weeks out of a year, the Adobe Theater would be using the theater or the amphitheater or the center. They would be the major tenant. And when we start to put together the business model, the P&L, if you will, for the center going forward, they play a very significant role in this. And there's lots of flexibility in their use of the amphitheater. Their displays or their sets are going to be changing. They're not as permanent as they once were at one time in the old days. Furthermore, they can be moved back so that the front part of that theater or amphitheater, the stage, can be used throughout the week for classrooms, dances, whatever other performances. So there's lots of flexibility there, but they will be a source of substantial income.
Yes, John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one quick comment. I think going forward, among the next steps should be a very more structured outreach to the community. From what your descriptions of it is very incidental, and communications in the village are something that the governing body has grappled with for decades. How do we broadcast any decision or even our public hearings? How do we make sure that everyone in the village hears it? And we don't have a government access cable channel. We don't have, radio stations. We have a newspaper that not everybody subscribes to. What we do have, probably I recognize it's very difficult to get input from a large portion of the community. And that's why I think it requires a bit more of a structured approach to solicit.
Oh, and we would agree. We don't represent that. We have talked with everyone. As the mayor has said, this is not a done deal. We're perfectly prepared to go out to different organizations in the community to present to them, maybe a bit differently and to a different type of crowd than we did at the Historical Society. But we've got a program that we can run out and present to different groups to receive their feedback. In addition to the survey that's going to be circulated by the village here pretty soon, that's part of the master plan, if you will. But we're willing to do that.
That's good to hear. Thank you. And the irony is not lost on me that this kind of function would be served by the existence of a center like this. So so thank you.
That's sick. Thank you.
And Mayor, Counselor Burkett has a question as well.
Councilor Burkett, fire away.
Thank you, sir. I actually had a quick point and then a question. The point is we have a similar situation to what we're discussing about the Adobe Theater already with the soccer fields, where we have one primary tenant who's using those fields the vast majority of the year. And they are village property. And I think that's been a very beneficial relationship with the village. There's still been opportunity to do other things, but it's provided a very regular activity for our kids that does consume the fields 5 nights a week, weekends, many weeks out of the year. So there is a precedent for that worked out well. I know we're getting the comprehensive plan and that's going to kind of guide all future decisions. This group has put in a ton of work. I think something that we need to really make sure that we don't miss out on, though, is the momentum. The other side of that equation, I agree with there needs to be some pause and there needs to be some engagement of other community stakeholders. But I also really feel like there's been a ton of time and energy. There's a little bit of excitement about this, that while we're seeing what the village wants from a standpoint of resources, it would be wise, I think, in our opinion, to also be seen if people are willing to put their money where their mouth is. And I'm not sure that the village itself is able to do that. So I would suggest that we somehow find a way to maintain some of this momentum while engaging other parties in the process as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? John, are you finished?
If you guys are finished, thank you.
John, thank you very much. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. I think that's wonderful. Okay, now getting back to the boring work of the village. Mr. Curry.
Talking about me?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'll be boring. I'll start off first with.
You and me both.
Start off with Tanya, please. COVID updates.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Administrator Curry. I hope you can all hear me well. I finally got the fan fixed on my computer. COVID updates. Well, as you may have seen by your packet, we have no new emergency declaration and ours expires today. One of the reasons for that is the state let theirs expire April 1st and the federal government expired theirs based on legislation on Monday. What that really means is there's no more funding. Doesn't mean the pandemic is over, but it does mean there's no more funding coming in for pandemic related items. The government has said that the vaccines that they have purchased will still be, as long as they're available, we'll still be able to get them for free. They've not given a commitment on the date that it's going to go to commercialization. When it goes to commercialization, those people with insurance will be able to get vaccines. Those people that are children, it will be covered by Vaccines for Children. Any adult population without insurance will have to pay for vaccines or try to get on some special funding. But once again, with the pandemic funding ending, the Medicare, Medicaid expansion program is also ending. I do know that the state of New Mexico said they're looking at some stuff, but we haven't had a meeting. They canceled our meeting this week, which leads me into the reason why our meeting was canceled this week, because the CDC is looking, we hope it'll be out this week or next week, to expand bivalent vaccines for people possibly over 65 and certain health conditions to get a second vaccine 4 months post their last one, because we do know there's a lot of people who got theirs in early September, and that immunity boost has waned quite a bit. On that, globally, cases globally, because it's going to get much harder to get local information. They're going to publish once a month now on a lot of the information in New Mexico. Globally, we have had a decrease in COVID. The Americas have decreased, not necessarily Corrales, and I'll go into that in a minute, but we are seeing an uptick. Southeast Asia had a 289% increase in the last 28 days. Eastern Mediterranean had a 147% increase in the last 28 days over the previous 28 days. So if we talk about Corrales, so far in April, we've had 6 confirmed cases. We ended March with 14. So we were on that uptick that I was seeing at the end of March. I do expect there to be more of an uptick after the Easter holiday. The most at risk, once again, are people over the age of 65, the unvaccinated, of becoming severely ill. And March 14th, that we had 47 cases in New Mexico per 100,000. We're at 56 cases per 100,000 on the update that was put out today. Ventilated people, the rolling 7-day average for ventilated patients was 7. We're up to 8. Sandoval County, or the state positivity, went from 9.6 to 10.8. Positivity rates and case numbers are really hard because we know a lot of people are doing home testing, but for that number of people to get testing, that means they had to go look for it. They had to go to Walgreens. They had to find a doctor's office. There isn't, the drive-through clinics anymore. We are flu season. We've had 233 cases of flu deaths in New Mexico this year, and New Mexico reported its first child death today, a 2-year-old girl out of Otero County. That 233 is up significantly from the last 2 years for flu deaths, but we were wearing masks during that time. In the last 7 days, we've had 1,186 lab reported cases, and I don't have the numbers from the previous reporting period. I just forgot to write it down. So COVID is still out there. I've had quite a few people over the last week get tests, be tested, and help them find a treatment. They're still running into a lot of doctors who want to do the wait and see on Paxlovid, which is not CDC, World Health Organization, NIH's way to do that. They've got some very clear guidelines on what should be happening. So I've helped a couple of people access treatment in the last week. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Oh, and vaccines. I also know there's an uptick because on Saturday, I didn't make it to the Easter hunt to see the coyote and bunny, but because I was setting up an actually large clinic, we ended up filling within 2 days, 25 people, and I could have filled it even more, I think.
That coyote may have caught COVID.
I hope not.
One can hope, right? So Tanya, how many flu deaths did you say we had in New Mexico?
233. We were the year before the pandemic started, we were at 254 or 256. This year we've had 233. During COVID, it was 197 and like 160 something. But they attribute a lot of that because there was a mask mandate at that time also.
Yeah, so the numbers were lower.
Yes.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Yes, Councilor Murray.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Councilors, Tanya, do you know if the state's going to maintain their website? Are they going to keep updating the numbers, or are they going to close it down?
So I looked today, and the one that gives us the hospitalizations and the death totals that runs across the bottom, that is going to be updated, I believe, on the 3rd Tuesday of every month only. I do not know if they're going to keep reporting out cases daily. And I don't know. They didn't say that was ending, but that other one, they're only going to update every 30 days roughly.
Any other questions? Okay, Ron.
Okay, I'd like to turn it to Melanie for some what I think is very good news.
Excuse me. Thank you, Ron, Mayor and Council. The Dennis Friends Foundation, who we approached for funding for the Animal Services Building, had their meeting this past Saturday. We submitted a formal request for the funding for the Animal Services Building, which they have granted. So we have full funding for the Animal Services Building coming from the Dennis Friends Foundation. They'll be sending us an official letter awarding us the money sometime this week. So it's a very, very generous donation to the village. So we will be able to proceed with ordering that building. We had to do a sole source procurement on that due to the cost and the fact that the building is only available from one manufacturer in the entire United States. So part of that process was submitting to the State Department of Finance the notice that we would be making such a purchase. You have to wait 30 days from the date that notice gets posted on the state website, and it was posted on March 20th. So we have to wait until at least April 19th before we can order the building. And Horizon Structures, who is we are ordering the building from, has suggested that we not place the order for the building until we have the building permits for the foundation. So Facility Build is working on those permits. They're hoping to submit all of the paperwork to receive the permits sometime next week. They estimate that process will take about 2 weeks once the paperwork is submitted. And so then Facility Build and Horizon Structures will work together to coordinate the timing of that project so that we don't get a building here before we have a slab ready for it. So.
Questions? Councilor Burkett, you have a question?
He's shaking his head no.
I do not. Thank you, though.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Quick update on the Gonzalez property. I'm sorry to say there is no update other than what I provided last time. But I remain optimistic. Also, I wanted to mention to you, and you'll be receiving an email on this tomorrow from Raina, probably beginning tomorrow and the following Thursday, beginning tomorrow and Thursday, we will be entering into our budget hearings with all the department heads. Where they'll come in and visit with myself, Melanie, Raina, and the mayor, and we'll make their budget presentations. Then on May 9th council meeting, you will receive the first draft of the budget presentation with notes. And I say with notes because Raina will make those notes. She will be on leave during that first meeting, but this will be just a first draft for you to look at with some notations. And then either on May 17th or 18th, and we'll be asking members of this body to see which day is better for them. We'll be having a workshop on the budget so that you can have that first draft in hand. Raina will be back by that time and we'll be able to walk through any questions that you might have on the budget on 17th or 18th. Then on May 23rd, we'll be taking a first vote on the budget. You will be taking that first vote. It's not required by the state, but we think it's a good idea for you to vote on it and get your opinions listed. Then we have to submit to DFA on June 1st the preliminary budget that you will have seen and voted on. That first budget, there is no extensions that will be granted by the Department of Finance and Administration. They want to see that on June 1st, and we will deliver it to them on June 1st, the preliminary budget. On June 30th, the year end will close for the fiscal year. Raina will complete the year-end report, and we'll also have a final number on what we see as far as much as we can, as far as our revenues and what our expenditures are. There's a little bit of guesswork in there because, as you know, June 30th, there's still things that flow in after that. But the Department of Finance and Administration likes for the preliminary budget to be as close to possible as the final budget so that there's not any great changes. So the final vote on the budget by this body is scheduled to occur on July 25th. And At that same time, Raina will deliver to you a year-end report, which of those final numbers that I just mentioned will be coming in, which should hopefully will come in as much as possible at that point. Then we will submit the final budget to the Department of Finance and Administration on July 31st, which is a Monday. Again, there are no extensions by the department to any municipality in the state. So we will be sending you out a listing of what I just said, probably tomorrow, the next day, and then we'll also be soliciting your opinion as to which date for the workshop, either the 17th or 18th of May. So you can see it's a pretty well worked out process, but our goal is to give you as much time as possible to look at the budget, understand the budget, and ask questions on the budget and get your licks in, so to speak, on the budget. So glad to answer any questions, but you will be receiving an email on that.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Ron, I mentioned this before, the notes that will accompany the numbers. It's not necessarily going to be a narrative for each section. I think what's important is if we can see what happened before, where we're increasing or decreasing in each section. And if it just notes, that's fine. But some kind of, meat on the bone kind of a thing.
Yes, Counselor, we'll be doing that. And it's a narrative that will be a work in progress as we go through it, because we want that narrative to include any of your thoughts as we go through it as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so you're going to put that, we're going to put that together in an email and send that to everybody.
We'll put the
dates.
timelines in there.
Okay.
Was that boring enough?
It was excellent. I couldn't have done it better. More boring. Okay. So now we'll move on to Corleone's Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. There is a 3-minute time limit.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Mayor.
Yes.
The counselor's forum initially,
I'm sorry, what?
the counselor's forum prior to the.
Oh,
Parliament.
gosh, I skipped it again. I just don't want to hear from you guys. Okay, all right. Excuse me. Counselor's Forum.
There's a subtext here.
This section, let me read it again. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. Counselor's Forum. Fire away. Counselor Knight, excuse me.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to let people know that I went down to see the siphon this past weekend. And it was great to see that it seemed like it was really working efficiently, and that I wanted to thank Kathleen Cates for getting the money and for PNN for finally getting the electricity down there. So our farmers will have more water. It's so important in Corrales.
They won't have more water, but it'll be timely water.
Right.
Yeah.
And hopefully.
I wish it were more water, but it's going to just be timely water.
And then I was going to ask, when is the comprehensive plan survey expected to come out?
We're not sure, but hopefully 2 weeks.
We
A
would
month?
like the comprehensive plan committee to take a look at all the questions and give their input before it goes to the community. And because of the delay, we had hoped to appoint that committee at this evening's meeting, but we had a couple counselors who weren't able to get their choices in for their picks, for their recommendations. And then 2 of the people that the mayor had chosen decided to drop out. So instead of trying to rush that and get everything on this agenda, we thought, let's do it right the first time.
Absolutely.
And we'll appoint those people on May 25th.
So in 2 weeks, we will appoint the committee, and we got to give them at least a couple of weeks to sort of get their feet on the ground. So, we're looking at probably a month, sometime end of May, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Alsterbrook, you were going to say something.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to announce that Saturday, June 3rd, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the front soccer fields is the Corrales Tractor Club's annual Tractor Summer Show. This will have food vendors, crafts, obviously glorious tractors, antique cars, classic cars, other mechanical equipment displays, vendors. Admission is free, parking is free, and encourage everybody to come out.
So they're going to be on the soccer field?
Saturday, June 3rd, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay,
That's what's been planned for quite a while.
well,
It sounds like someone thinks we might be kicking small children off the field.
oh, no. I hate, what have we heard about? I think we're talking about two different things. I'm thinking about Harvest Festival. Yeah, never mind,
Okay.
never mind.
It's a little early for me to think about that, but. you know,
Yeah, well,
Mr.
it's,
Messick probably got it under-
it's not too early, is it, Tony? Yeah. Councilor Murray.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Councilors. Yeah, I'll just also chime in that June 30th is the Recreation Fair from 10 to 1 over here. at the-
April 30th, right?
April 30th.
Yeah.
From 10 to 1. That's the at the Recreation Center and I think Chris Allen has done a pretty good job of coordinating, trying to get everybody in there. So we're looking forward to maybe having a good turnout.
Yeah, I think she's been doing it for about oh gosh, at least a month, I
Yeah.
think. At least that long. Yeah. Okay. May I proceed?
You may proceed.
All right, next is Corleone's Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate. To inform the governing body of an issue or concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. There's the 3-minute time limit. Who do we have?
First up, I have Lawrence Blank.
Mr. Blank. So please step up to the dais, take the microphone, identify yourself, tell us where you live.
We're just one person here.
So I'm really, you know,
Minutes.
I'm really having a problem here. No, go ahead. I'm kidding.
I know, okay. Dr. Mayor and Council, my name is Lawrence Blank, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak. I live at 112 Tierra Encantada, Corrales. I am speaking tonight as president of Village in the Village with the unanimous backing of the VIV board represented by my colleague, Sam Sumaswamy. VIV is a nonprofit organization with the goal of helping seniors remain in their Corrales homes. VIV has been kept aware of the planning for ACE. Yes, it was an open process. We are fully supportive of the center and wish to urge the mayor and council to take timely action to assure continued planning and fundraising for this project. We feel that the ACE Center will contribute significantly to the quality of life in Corrales, especially for seniors, by making arts, culture, and education easily accessible. As VIV provides transportation services for our members, it will make it easier for our volunteers. Let's face it, it's closer than downtown Albuquerque. It will stimulate economic development in the village, hopefully making it more attractive to establish businesses here, thus providing more goods and services closer to home. The over 60s make up more than 1/3 of the Corrales population. Let's take advantage of the opportunity ACE gives us to make our village convenient and a stimulating place for all, including this large population segment that contributes so much to the community through our wisdom and our volunteering. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
And
So
I'm-
are we going to have doubles all night?
I think so. I think we've got a twins convention in town or something. So, and I'm going to apologize right now for anybody's name that I butcher. I will do my best. So up next we have Meg Birkel Hun. I apologize. Birkel. If you could please state your name correctly for the record. and your address, please. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Meg Burkle Hun, and I live at 947 Camino de Lucia here in Corrales. Thank you, Mayor and Council for your service to our community and for our community. I'm speaking sort of at the other end of the spectrum from the previous speaker. I'm speaking as the parent of a child who lives here in Corrales, and I am in support of the Arts Community and Education Center for the same, almost the same benefits as the Village and the Village just spoke about. My daughter's in 3rd grade here at Corrales Elementary School, and I believe that the ACE Center, with its current design of flexible and open space for auditorium, classrooms, and exhibit halls, will be a win for our community. It doesn't take much for me to imagine families with children gathering in the auditorium to participate in or watch children's theater, or a high school orchestra, or to converse with artists in the gallery, or be the artists that are presenting their art selection in the gallery. My daughter has loved the arts curriculum at Corrales Elementary, and I believe that the ACE Center would enhance and strengthen our kids' involvement in the arts and in this community, as well as access to arts and other educational opportunities. My other hat that I wear is as a master gardener, and our organization is often in search of meeting spaces in order to offer educational opportunities about gardening to the public. And by presenting an open and flexible plan, the ACE enhances its ability, I think, to raise money from other sources to provide space for groups like schools and master gardeners who do not have deep pockets. The only negative I see here is that it wasn't done when you were mayor previously, 15 years ago, so that my daughter and all of us could benefit from this right now. My hope is that that our village will continue this momentum that this committee has begun, and that the future of Corrales residents will be able to have access to such a facility here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Next up, we have Sandra Farley. And if you could also state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Sandra Farley. I am at 107 Collier Contenta. And I should have paid more attention to the order of the people speaking. I wanted to represent myself as a viable member of the community because I have been part of Village in the Village, holding many positions, was once president. I was also on the board of the Sandoval County Master Gardeners. And the reason I wanted to speak here tonight was because there is such an underlying need for our organizations to have meeting spaces, and Meg just spoke to that. But I'm sure that we would speak for every organization here in town that meeting space is so critical. We don't have it and we need it. So I think ACE would be a wonderful opportunity to provide those spaces for us. And I look forward to hearing something positive coming from this group. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Jen Noel. You could also state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes as well.
Hi, Mayor, councilors. My name is Jen Noel. I live at 716 West La Entrada. It's the house with the goats out front. Everybody knows my house, especially Sky. Her goat's currently riding there. I am the current president for the Corrales Society of Artists. And I just wanted to say that we are in support of the ACE project as well. Ken Duckett on the committee has been keeping our board well informed about the progress that they have been making. And we are super excited about the plans that are going forward. And we really hope that it continues with the momentum. You know, Corrales is known for its art, agricultural, and for its horses. And it's about time that we have a dedicated space that is flexible enough to serve all of those needs. So we really hope that we get your support in this as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Ann Taylor. And same instructions.
Wow, maybe I can get the microphone. I was going to say, I don't think I can reach it. I'm Ann Taylor. I'm a member of the Historical Society, have been for a long time. I'm a docent, and I'm a former board member of the Corrales Historical Society. I support the the concept design. Either way, I think it's a great plan. And I also am in favor of non-designated areas for any one group so that we can be open to all the groups, all the community. I think it's going to be a very favorable endeavor for the community. Nearly every community that is really worthwhile and doing well and healthy has some kind of an art center, arts, community, education, which is what we have in mind. I also would encourage you to recommend the memorandum of understanding with the Friends of the Corrales ACE so it can continue its work. They're ready to go. You know, we're phasing through the board members we have now, and we'll go to the Friends who are already organized to carry on the work. And you know, there's a lot to be done. So I would encourage you and ask you to please enter into the memorandum of understanding with the Friends of the Corrales ACE. Thank you.
Yeah, we still need that, Ann. Thank you, Ann.
Okay, next up is Sue Evett.
Starting to sound like a broken record. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors, village administrative staff. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm speaking on behalf of Corrales Main Street. I'm currently the president of the board of Corrales Main Street. I've also served as president of the Board of Music in Corrales in the past, and a pretty active community member here for the 12 years that I've lived in Corrales. The Corrales Main Street organization applied for the first time to be designated as an arts and cultural district in 2013. It's been 10 years since we made our first application. I was involved in the process at that time and very heavily involved in our most recent application. And we were designated in 2018, and we are now very close to achieving our milestones, the benchmarks for full authorization of our arts and cultural district. That arts and cultural district also includes a cultural compound. That's the historic Old San Isidro Church, the Casa San Isidro, and the cemetery. So we have a cultural compound, and we have our Main Street Arts and Cultural District, which are a physical overlay. The ACE Center will provide a very much needed anchor for our Main Street and Arts and Cultural District, because as we all know, Corrales Road is a very sprawling and long road, and it's kind of hard to know where everything is. And we're now getting to the point where we have a really well-defined village center, and ACE will form an anchor for that center. And it will also enable us to achieve our goals of a variety of multi-generational programming year-round that will provide for cultural economic development in our community. The last benchmark that we need to achieve, in addition to some of the other work that we're doing, is to develop a cultural economic development plan. And we received funding, capital outlay funding last year to do that. We are underway in that cultural planning process now, and we could very easily incorporate the public outreach that you're talking about for the ACE Center as part of our cultural planning process. And I think that would be very appropriate. It's already been discussed with our consultants. So I strongly advise the council to approve the plan and to allow us to continue to move forward such that we can make our arts and cultural district a thriving economic generator for the village.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay, next up is Kathy Lang.
Hello, Mayor, Council. Council. I'm Kathy Lang and I live at 1432 West Ella. And I am here to talk a little bit about how it would benefit children also. In the first place, let me say I'm a lifer here and I remember the Adobe Theater being here. And to this day, I still miss it. It's a little tiny church and it accommodated everybody. And it was such a joy and a gift to have them here. So that would be the first thing I want to say, which I just added. But I worked at Krause Elementary teaching kindergarten for almost 30 years. I know, look young, don't I? So during my time there, we were fortunate enough during most of that time to have various groups come through to enrich the learning experience. New Mexico Young Actors came through and did plays. We had Poetry Alive, music in the schools. The Master Gardeners were very active. And unfortunately, most of that has all fallen by the wayside now. And even more unfortunately, most of it is being replaced by more testing and more activities where these kids are being just told what to do and what to think all the time. And I still can picture little kids watching the only play they've ever seen in their life and just lighting up. You know, we have such a diverse community, but a lot of our, we have a very affluent community on one side and then we have the other side. And a lot of what is now not in our public school here, these little children are not even going to have a chance to experience that. I mean, it's been taken away from them. And I just think that's a huge part. One of the other things is when we did try to have things at the school, the chief leave because we crammed so many people in, I'm pretty sure it was a fire hazard. And, it just took major coordination and a lot of crossed fingers. So to have an area where we could actually have people safely come over and watch performances from the school would be so incredible. I am strongly in support of this, not only for myself and all of us young and old people here, but more importantly for these little Coralinos that, this might be the only chance that some of them have to experience this type of culture and fine arts. So I hope, and the movable classroom doors or walls would be great. Then you could accommodate small groups. And so I hope you approve this. I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Lance Ozier. Did I say your last name right? I've seen it written lots of places. I rarely hear it.
I respond to almost any version of that. That's fine. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the Village Council, I am Lance Ozier. I live at 125 Todos Juntos Road. And I am here tonight to represent the Corrales Cultural Arts Council, the all-volunteer nonprofit organization that for the past 36 years has brought diverse, high-quality musical performances and music education to schools to enrich the cultural and civic life of the people of Corrales and nearby communities. Most of you probably know us just as Music in Corrales. Speaking for our board, I am here to thank the ad hoc committee for the work over the past year toward the creation of a facility for arts, community, and education, and to endorse the committee's report. In particular, I want to highlight some of the benefits such a facility could provide in the context of the organization that I represent. Since our beginning in 1987, Music in Corrales has used the old San Isidro Church as its home venue. We love the old church. It's emblematic of Corrales. It's even in our village seal. And for Music in Corrales, it provides an intimate setting for musical concerts. The acoustics are great, and the artists who perform there are delighted with the sound and with the immediate response they get from our audiences. They all want to come back again and again. But the church has its limitations for our purposes. We can only offer concerts 8 months of the year because the church is not air conditioned. We can only seat 150 people for each concert, so we often sell out and must turn people away. There's only a small room for the artists to use as a dressing room, and it has no adjacent restrooms. The artist must go outside across the courtyard to take care of that business. Parking for concerts is crowded and sometimes helter-skelter, and outdoor lighting at night is poor. We have had patrons fall and injure themselves while returning to their cars in the dark after a concert. However, as currently envisioned, we think the ACE Center would remedy all of these limitations and would provide a first-class concert venue for audiences and artists alike, as well as provide additional opportunities for Music in Corrales and other organizations in our community to serve Corrales as it grows over the next 25 to 40 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lance.
Okay, next we have Dennis Chamberlain.
Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Dennis Chamberlain. I live at 177 Tierra Encantada. I'm the president of Corrales Arts Center. I was present right here in this room in May of 2010 when Carmine DeVivi made his eloquent plea for a multi-purpose visual and performing arts building. And Mayor Fahey was here too.
I thought it was earlier than 2010.
It was actually May of 2010.
Was it really?
We were both very young back then. But I did check it, and according to my sources, it May of 2010. I was so awed by Carmine and his stage presence. To this day, I can remember a lot of his speech. Shortly after that, a new organization, Corrales Arts Center, was formed for the purpose of providing art education through workshops and promoting the appreciation and awareness of art in Corrales. And lo and behold, I'm now the president of that organization. It was thought at the time that this might be the organization or the entity that would head up the physical building envisioned by Carmine. The project was actually too large for our resources, and as most of us know, things don't always move at a lightning pace in the village. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But now I think it's time for this physical building, this arts center. Thankfully, the ACE committee has invested all kinds of time and money to get the momentum going. Momentum is, I think, a very important word that several people have brought up tonight. So speaking for the board of directors of my organization, Corrales Arts Center, we think it's time. We support this design, its flexibility, and we support the Friends of Corrales, ACE, to move forward and get this done. Thank you.
Dennis, before you leave, I want to introduce you to Sky DeVivi. Carmine's daughter.
I've heard so much about you, and I've never had the chance to meet you.
Well, that's his granddaughter over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
All right, and last but not least, we have Arnold Farley. You've got a tough act to follow.
Scary. Okay, I'm Arnold Farley, and I live at 107 Calle Contenta with that lady over there. And I want to address Mr. Mayor, the council, administration, and also to thank the committee and the advisors for their monumental work and effort that they've done out of their hearts. I should tell you, I'm from South Philly. So you might excuse my gruff demeanor and how I'm going to speak to you. So far, you've heard
I'm from Texas, so I understand.
All right. Well, I'm an Eagles fan, so I hope we can work together. I think this is a no-brainer. I think we've waited too long. I think we have momentum. We have the dedication of something concrete that is still fluid and flexible. And as the legislator that was here earlier, if everyone agreed to it, it probably would not be a good idea. So there's going to be some dissenters, but realistically, we live in a historic community, period. We have historic structures in our village. My wife and I chose to live here in Corrales because of its community nature, that it's here and it's not going anywhere. But let's be realistic. I've been here 10 years and our population really hasn't grown much. Projections have been around 9,000, 9,500, but we need more economic base. We need more businesses. We need more tax dollars. And this is an unbelievable vision that our leadership over the last 10 to 15 years has struggled with, but we got something now to work with. We got something real that we can put our hands into. We are a thriving, dynamic community that nurtures and preserves our history and that plans for our future. You can't just do one or the other or you'll die. Okay, like the ruins in Coronado. Okay, if we want to be an active, we have to invest. We have to look forward. I'm not going to repeat everything that's been mentioned. I could, but I won't. Economic base, business. I mean, you get the idea. Okay, this is a win-win situation, and unbelievably so because Adobe started here in the old church. Duh, make a movie. Okay, they're interested in coming back as a base for this proposal. Hello, history meets history. It's a win, win, win. Thank you for your vision.
Thank you.
And that concludes this portion of this evening's
Well,
proceedings.
I want to thank all of the speakers. All the speakers who have come up tonight. I really appreciate your input. This is going to be a big leap. And we'll work on it and we'll try to do as has been suggested, either, do public outreach. And as someone said, we need to start a PR program. I'm not sure we need a PR program, but we do need more public outreach. And we're hoping that the comprehensive plan, when we actually get that started, will give us, some information that we can pass on to you guys. Okay. So now we'll move on to the consent agenda, continuing the business of the Village Council. Approval of minutes for March 28th, 2023, regular council meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? Anybody want to make a
Mayor,
motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion to approve in a second for the minutes of March 28th, 2023. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Burkett,
Aye.
minutes are approved. There is nothing on the items removed consent agenda. So we'll go to new business, consideration, action, and approval of findings for appeal of short-term rental 22-11. Were you going to say anything at all or? Okay. So we need a motion for approval of the findings of the appeal for STR 2211.
Mayor, I move that we approve STR 2211.
Got a motion to
Second.
approve in a second. Does anybody want to make any comments or?
Oh, sure.
Okay. How do you vote? Counselor Miera,
Yes, sir.
Counselor
Waldman, aye.
Waldman? My tongue got tied there.
Aye.
Counselor Knight,
Aye.
Counselor Alsobrook,
Aye.
Counselor Murray,
Aye.
Counselor Burkett.
Aye.
So the findings of the appeal of the STR 22-11 are approved. Next is consideration, action, approval of ordinance 23-02, amending the portions of chapter 32 of the Village of Krause Code governing lodgers tax regulations. This was the increase in percentage. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance 23-02?
I move we approve ordinance 23-02.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion for and a second for 2302. Does anybody want to make any comment? How do you vote, Counselor Murray?
Aye.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Counselor Burkett?
Aye.
So the ordinance 23-02, amending portions chapter 32 of the Village of Krause Code governing lodgers tax regulations has been approved. Consideration, action, approval of resolution 23-20 dissolving the Performing Arts Committee. We felt this was appropriate because they had finished their job a little early. They want to move on with the nonprofit that they are in the process of developing. It's a private group fundraising. It would cause a conflict if we were working together, I guess you could say. Well, there's no guess you could say, if we were working together. So I need a resolution, I need a motion to approve resolution 23-20 dissolving the Performing Arts Committee.
Mayor, I move, go ahead.
I move we approve resolution 23-20.
I'll second.
In a second. Okay, so I have a motion to approve resolution 23-20 and a second for dissolving the Performing Arts Committee. How do you vote, Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
And Counselor Murray?
Aye.
Counselor Burkett?
Aye.
So resolution 23-20 has been approved. We have here a list of future agenda items that we're thinking of. The May 2nd work study. The comprehensive plan committee members we hope to have ready for next meeting. We also hope to be ready to discuss compensation. There's also something about the animal ordinance that we want to try to get soon. Where is that?
I've sent it over to Corey. She's been working on a ton
Okay.
of stuff for us, so.
Okay, thank you.
I hope you have a draft in the next, realistically by the end of the week.
Okay,
Cool.
very good.
Thank you.
Then we want to get a zone map amendment for the Anderson property. Perhaps April 25th.
That one is before the Planning and Zoning Commission on the 19th, so I don't know in
Yeah, we
terms
don't know what's
of,
gonna happen.
you know, if we can do it that quickly on our agenda, or if we have to wait till the May, but.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
Mayor, we've been waiting for a while on the additional language or legislation for how to deal with liquor licenses within 300 feet. We got to move forward on that sooner or later because it's just been dragging along forever. So I'm hoping that we can get something soon.
Okay. You're as in the business that was near the school that was turned down.
Yes, and we had no procedures in place. So we need to get that done and get that loophole fixed.
I wasn't here when that happened, but I do recall that well,
anyway, it just needs.
we should bring it forward. Yeah, good idea. All right.
Mr. Mayor, yes, we have been working on it internally in our office.
Okay.
I have a draft before Mr. Audio.
Okay.
He is reviewing it.
Okay.
So I hope to have that before.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Just on that point.
Yes, sir.
As you're reviewing that, are you looking at not just us specifically, but how this represents itself within the APS districts?
No, this is going to be a process that is exclusively for the council. And so the way that the statute has been rewritten, the authorization lies with the council. APS can say yes or no. It's up to you guys to override them. This is an unprecedented situation because usually what will happen is that someone is going to want to go in 300 feet from a school or a church, and the school or church will generally say, yeah, that's okay with us. And in that circumstance, then the governing body says, yes, because they're okay with it, we're okay with it. And that's how approvals have traditionally worked. With a rewrite of the statute, that authority was vested with the governing body instead. And so it's no longer the discretion of the church or the school, it's the discretion of the governing body. And so if it is something that the village wants, you know, if the Corralinos say, yes, we would prefer this, you know, provided maybe some certain circumstances, you know, whether it be, you know, outside of line of sight of the school, even though it's within that distance, whatever those criteria are for you guys, that would allow you to override even in the event that they say no. And so this is a process that acknowledges that the statute now vests power with the council and not with the school or church who's within that distance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But on that point, because you said you're doing some research, that's why I asked you specific to Corrales. Has anybody else wandered into that area just yet, overriding necessarily what a school or church said within the APS boundaries?
Not specifically within APS boundaries, but up in Santa Fe, they have.
Okay.
They have not been at all transparent about what their process is. It seems to be more like it's on a case by case basis. And that they don't have stringent criteria, which I think it would be something that would be very valuable for the council to have is a strict, you know,
yes, A, B, and C have all been met. These criteria are the things that fit within the bounds of the village.
Thank you. And that's why I asked that particular question, because I'd like you to take a look at that. If we came in, those questions I'd be asking and hope we have some answers to, so that we don't go too far out either way, but exactly what has been accepted within the confines of the state of New Mexico. So thank you.
Yes,
I was wondering if we were going to address the short-term rental, since we had someone come in the previous meeting about the number of children that could be in the home and the number of bedrooms and the number of occupants.
we are going to, actually, we talked about that with Mr. Audio.
Right.
And we are going to look at that because we were concerned about the 5 humans. And so we we're going to address that. We're going to look into that and we'll come back with something that's a little more. You can't have, 4 adults and 27 kids.
Right.
But
right,
the way the ordinance is written, you could.
Right.
And so we have to look at that.
Okay, thank you.
And I would think that normally, perhaps even planning and zoning might look at that.
Mayor, Councilor Walden and myself met with Mr. Black and we mentioned that, and I've urged him to go ahead and take a look at that and, don't wait on us,
Well, that's something we could both deal with. I mean, we could both talk about.
and we need probably a joint work study for that.
Yes, sir.
Didn't we address this issue somewhat with we just passed with the conclusions of law?
Actually, we approved what planning and zoning decision was.
Right, but the conclusions of law, we didn't accept that within the conclusions of law?
So here's the way that the findings of fact and conclusions of law operate, is that they're really specific to the facts of the circumstance. And so in this particular situation, because of the evidence that was presented at planning and zoning regarding the septic system, there was an additional limitation placed whenever you actually look at this, the short-term rental ordinance, you could have, I believe the quote is up to 2 people per bedroom, something to that effect. And so this is a change or a deviation from the norm. And so that was why it was important to address in the findings of fact or conclusions of law to adopt something that was specific and regulating this particular property and this particular septic system, understanding, of course, that there can be upgrades to the septic system that may change those conditions in the future. But that doesn't change the ordinance itself. And I think what Mr. Mayor is proposing is adjusting that ordinance to recognize that children are people too.
Yeah.
Right.
And Mayor,
Thank you,
Councilor
sir.
Burkett has a
Oh,
question.
Councilor Burkett, sorry.
No, I appreciate it. I would love if we could, during the work study, have some level of discussion about future progress on what's been a large topic today, this ACE Center, and if we want to hold out completely for the comprehensive plan before we discuss an MOU, if we want to determine other options, but I really don't want to see us wait 12 to 15 months until a comprehensive plan is done before we take the next step on this. So I would like to see some sort of discussion at the work study about that.
This whole concept of this facility isn't going to sit for 12 or 15 months. Because one of the first things that was said to the group when they were appointed was that this had been desired by the community, by a number of people in the community for more than 20 years. And like some of the other things that we've worked on, they took 20 years. I didn't want this to take 20 years. So no, we're going to move forward on it. We're just taking a little break to try to see if we can, one thing, we'd like to find some money. And we think that we have a number of places that we have not looked yet and would like to look at to see if we can qualify. But no, we hope that I think Jim Kruger made a comment in one of their meetings that maybe we should just hold things off for 60 days. And I like that, just to kind of take our breath. No, I don't want anybody to lose their momentum or lose interest. I would like to see this happen too. I don't want to, violate any statutes, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay, looks to me like the business of the village council is finished. The agenda is completed. Meeting is adjourned.